Then recently, scientists discovered a strange scene in the forest. They described it almost like a wildlife crime scene. A series of snakes were found under pine needles, but their necks had been badly bitten, and their heads were completely gone. This was not caused by humans at all, ecological enemy. But why do they only bite the head? Can Florida use this solution to completely wipe out the giant snakes? Let's begin right now to find out more. In the previous documentary, we saw how Burmese pythons exploded across Florida and turned the Everglades into a paradise for this giant snake species. They have almost no true natural predators. While native species are disappearing, Burmese pythons continue to reproduce, hide, and expand their dominance. In the past, raccoons, opossums, marsh rabbits, and bobcats were the creatures that helped keep the ecosystem in balance. They ate insects, cleaned up dead animals, controlled eggs and small animals, and also became food for larger predators. According to the USGS, in some areas of the Everglades, raccoons have declined by more than 99%, and opossums by nearly 99% after the python spread. When these mammals disappeared, the ecosystem began to lose its balance. If you stood here, you would still see the forest looking green. The water would still be flowing. But if you looked through a thermal camera at night, many parts of the swamp would now seem almost empty. Fewer sounds, less movement, and the ecosystem is slowly dying. Of course, the problem is not only about the ecosystem. Burmese pythons have also brought economic losses, pressure on conservation efforts, and growing fear among Florida residents. They have appeared near residential roads, golf courses, parks, and even suburban areas. The United States has used some of its most advanced technology in the Everglades, including thermal drones, AI cameras, detection dogs, and even eDNA analysis, a technology that searches for traces of an animal's DNA in water. But the biggest problem is that these snakes are extremely good at camouflage. Just look at the python's blotchy brown and black skin among the mud, rotting leaves, and sawgrass, and you will understand why. Then an idea appeared that sounded almost like something from a spy movie: the Scout Snake Program. Scientists capture large male pythons, implant radio transmitters inside their bodies, and then release them back into the wild. During the breeding season, the male pythons naturally follow pheromones to find giant females hiding deep in the swamp. Humans only need to follow the radio signal. One of the most famous spy pythons was named Loki. It was about 13 feet long, weighed 52 pounds, and was tracked by the Conservancy of Southwest Florida for 6 breeding seasons. Since 2013, this program has helped remove more than 44,000 pounds of Burmese pythons and is estimated to have prevented more than 20,000 eggs from hatching. But in December 2022, Loki's signal suddenly stopped moving near Naples. When the research team found it, the scene looked exactly like a murder case in the forest. The head was gone, the neck had been badly bitten, the body was covered under pine needles, as if something had tried to hide it. At first, many people thought the culprit was an alligator or a human, but a camera trap later captured a scene that shocked scientists. An adult bobcat returned to Loki's body. The problem is this: an adult bobcat weighs only about 15 to 31 pounds. Its body is flexible, its legs are long, and it specializes in ambushing small prey such as rabbits, squirrels, and birds. Meanwhile, an adult Burmese python in Florida can grow more than 13 to 16 feet long and weigh dozens of pounds. Its muscular body is almost like a living giant tightening rope. With just one accurate coil around the neck or chest, it can suffocate its prey within minutes. That is why a bobcat almost never attacks a healthy python head-on. Its hunting mechanism is completely different. A bobcat wins through reaction speed, patience, and the ability to choose the right moment. They prefer to ambush from the side or from behind, focusing on the neck and head where the python has the hardest time fighting back. With Loki, many researchers believe cold weather slowed the python's reactions. Florida does not often experience deep cold, but when temperatures drop sharply, pythons, as cold-blooded animals, have muscles that work much more slowly. A healthy bobcat could take advantage of just a few vulnerable seconds to bite the neck, then pull back before the python could coil around it. If it failed, the bobcat would almost certainly die. Bobcats are not only opportunistic hunters, They are beginning to learn how to exploit the python's weaknesses. The USGS recorded a series of photos at Big Cypress National Preserve from June to September 2021, showing a bobcat discovering a python nest when the female python left it. It ate some of the eggs, hid a few under the grass, and kept returning for several days afterward. This was the first time science had documented a native animal in Florida hunting Burmese python eggs in the wild. This is extremely important because a python nest usually contains 30 to 50 eggs, while a large individual can lay more than 80 or even over 100 eggs. And the bobcat is not the only species adapting. In the water, American alligators have also joined the fight in a very different way. If the bobcat wins through speed and calculation, the alligator wins through power. An adult alligator about 10 feet long has a bite force of more than 2,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush a turtle's shell and hold a large python underwater. Many videos from the Everglades show alligators dragging pythons into the water and then performing a death roll, an extremely powerful body rotation that can break the python's spine or make it lose the ability to constrict. But alligators also have limits. They are most effective when fighting in the water or against younger pythons. If the fight happens on land and the python manages to coil around the head or legs, a young alligator can absolutely be constricted to death. Even smaller species are beginning to take part. The Florida king snake is only about 3 to 5 feet long, much smaller than a Burmese python, but it has its own advantage. It specializes in hunting other snakes. Its fast body, sharp reflexes, and resistance to venom make it extremely effective against young pythons. A 2022 study recorded a GPS device attached to a young python appearing in the feces of a king snake after only 48 hours. This was direct evidence that native snakes are killing the younger generation of python. However, the king snake also has a very clear limit. It can almost never confront an adult python several yards long. It is only effective when attacking the smallest and most vulnerable stage. In northern Florida, black bears sometimes also appear around dead python carcasses. But bears are not professional python hunters, they are opportunistic animals. If they encounter a python that is injured, chilled, or weakened, a bear may use its powerful jaws to bite the neck and head, similar to what the bobcat did to Loki. But bears cannot chase or track pythons through dense swamps the way bobcats or alligators can. It is not only ground predators that have learned how to exploit the weaknesses of Burmese pythons. In the sky, another quiet battle is also taking place. For many birds of prey in Florida, a baby python is not an invasive species. It is simply a protein-rich young snake, slow-moving and often exposed in the open swamp. The Everglades has many open marshes, water canals, levee banks, and low sawgrass prairies. When they first hatch, young pythons are only about 20 to 28 inches long, with bodies almost as thin as an adult's wrist. They must constantly move between hiding places, sunny patches of grass, and the water's edge to find warmth and food. From the ground looking up, they almost disappear into the grass. But from above, with eyes that can see many times farther than humans, birds of prey can spot them much more easily. Red-shouldered hawks often fly low along canal banks, searching for small movements in the grass. Great horned owls hunt at night, diving down almost completely silently. And the great blue heron, a tall blue-gray bird almost as tall as a small child, uses a different strategy. It stands motionless at the water's edge, then delivers an extremely fast strike with its dagger-like beak to the head or neck of a young python. This is a very important weak point. No matter how large a Burmese python becomes, it still has to protect its head. If the brain or the upper spine is damaged, a body several feet long can almost lose its ability to fight back. But birds of prey also have very clear limits. They are most effective against young pythons under about 3 feet long. Once a python grows larger, its body becomes thicker and its constricting power begins to get stronger. At that point, even a bald eagle would find it difficult to take the risk. An adult python can be long and heavy, almost the size of a small adult human. No bird of prey in Florida can lift that mass of muscle off the ground. So the battle in the sky is really a battle to stop the next generation before they have the chance to grow up. and that is extremely important. That is why ecologists see birds of prey as the first natural line of defense against a python population explosion. Now, do you notice what they all have in common? Yes, Florida's ecosystem has gradually begun to adapt to this invasive species. Most adult pythons still have almost no true natural predators, but for the first time in many years, the Everglades is no longer only a place where native animals are being hunted. Some of the former victims are beginning to learn how to fight back against the invader. But then, amid a series of counterattacks by native animals, a recent idea from scientists began to emerge that sounded almost impossible. If Burmese pythons can swallow almost anything, what happens when they swallow the wrong thing, something too dangerous to digest? That is when people started talking about porcupines. A porcupine is not a predator. It does not chase, tear, or ambush its prey, but its body is like a living trap. A Cape porcupine, the largest porcupine species in Africa, can weigh between 22 and 53 pounds, grow nearly 31 inches long, and carry more than 30,000 quills on its body. Some of those quills are more than 12 inches long, almost the length of an adult's forearm. The frightening part lies in their structure. Under a microscope, many quills have tiny backward-facing barbs, almost like fishhooks. They are easy to drive in, but the harder something tries to pull them out, the more the flesh tears open. This is not just a theory. In 2015, at Lake Eland Game Reserve in South Africa, rangers discovered an African rock python almost 13 feet long, dead by the side of the road. During the necropsy, they found a porcupine inside weighing nearly 31 pounds. Its quills had pierced the python's stomach, intestines, and body wall, and some had even pushed through the snake's skin. According to Live Science and the BBC, the python did not die immediately. It continued moving for almost a week before dying from internal bleeding, infection, and organ damage. Studies on the diets of African rock pythons and Indian pythons show that porcupines still appear on the prey list in some areas, although not at a high rate. That means when pythons are hungry, they may still accept the gamble, and their hunting mechanism explains this very clearly. Pythons do not judge danger the way humans do. They mainly rely on heat, smell, and movement. In the dark, a warm body may simply be seen as food. The problem is that once the porcupine is inside the python's stomach, the real battle begins. A python's stomach keeps contracting to squeeze and digest its prey. But instead of softening like a rabbit or a bird, thousands of quills are pushed deeper into the soft tissue. Imagine a rubber bag being filled from the inside with sharp needles. That is almost what happens inside the python's body, and that process can last for days. At this point, many people begin to wonder, could porcupines be used as a solution against pythons in Florida? But the problem appears immediately. Florida does not have a suitable porcupine population. To test the idea, people would have to introduce another species into the ecosystem, and that is exactly what makes ecologists stop. Florida has already paid too high a price for one non-native species. No one wants to repeat that mistake again. Introducing African porcupines into the Everglades could create a new invasion that no one would be able to control. Meanwhile, the North American porcupine mainly lives in cooler climates and dry forests in the northern United States, a completely different environment from the hot, humid, year-round flooded wetlands of the Everglades. In the end, this idea was rejected, not because it was completely absurd, but because the cost of a new ecological mistake could be even more dangerous than the Burmese python itself. But honestly, there is one truth we have to accept. No matter how many Burmese pythons are killed by animals in nature, it is still not enough to reverse this invasion. Burmese pythons still have too many advantages. They reproduce extremely fast, camouflage almost perfectly, spread across a massive range, and, most importantly, are incredibly hard to detect. An adult python can lie motionless for hours under sawgrass, mud, or along the water's edge, looking no different from a wet log. Even thermal cameras can struggle at times because the water and mud in the Everglades can hide part of the snake's body heat. And that is when the Florida Python Challenge appeared, an annual competition that sounds more like a reality show than a conservation effort. Every year, hundreds to nearly 1,000 people pour into the Everglades for 10 days to hunt as many pythons as possible, with the top prize reaching up to $10,000. The 2025 event ended on July 20th, with nearly 1,000 participants from many different backgrounds: military veterans, survivalists, professional hunters, wildlife removers, YouTube influencers, TikTok creators, local residents, and even tourists who wanted to experience the real Florida. According to the South Florida Water Management District and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, professional python removal teams have removed nearly 16,000 snakes since 2019. That sounds huge. But no, it is like trying to empty a large lake with a cup. Even so, the hunters still do not give up. At night, the Everglades is almost completely dark. There are no city lights, only black water, heavy humidity, thick clouds of mosquitoes, and strange sounds coming from the swamp. Many teams have to drive airboats through narrow canals at midnight using headlamps and thermal scopes to scan every edge of the grass, searching for the tiniest reflection from a python's skin. Sometimes they walk through knee-deep water, holding snake hooks and using radio communication, almost as if they are taking part in a military operation. Over the many years since this competition began, some hunters have become legends in this war. Donna Khalil has captured more than 1,000 pythons for the state of Florida's program. Mike Kimmel, also known as the Python Cowboy, became famous thanks to his dog Otto, which specializes in sniffing out snakes. Amy Sia has captured more than 700 pythons and has even used python skin to make leather products in order to reduce waste. Taylor Stanberry, the winner of the 2025 Florida Python Challenge, captured as many as 60 pythons in just 10 days, accounting for more than 20% of all the pythons caught in that year's competition. Ryan Osborne and Kevin Pavlidis once captured a python nearly 19 feet long, setting a Florida record in 2020. But even with all of that, Florida still has not stopped. Now, scientists are even testing robot rabbits. The University of Florida and the South Florida Water Management District have deployed fake marsh rabbits equipped with motors, heaters, and motion sensor cameras. They are designed to mimic the body temperature and behavior of real rabbits, one of the Burmese python's favorite meals. If a python approaches, the camera sends a signal to researchers, and a hunting team is immediately sent to the location. If the pythons still are not attracted, the research team even plans to add the scent of real rabbits to the robot. This is an incredibly intense battle, so big, in fact, that Hollywood has also begun to step in. The 2025 documentary, The Python Hunt, follows hunters through the dark swamps of the Everglades, capturing a feeling that is more like war zone ecology than ordinary nature conservation. Perhaps that is the most accurate way to describe it. And perhaps the most astonishing thing in the Everglades right now is not the giant pythons, but the way the entire ecosystem is trying to learn how to fight back. From bobcats, alligators, and birds of prey to humans using drones, AI, and even robot rabbits, everything is taking part in this battle. But is that enough? In your opinion, will Florida eventually be able to control Burmese pythons? Or is the Everglades slowly becoming their new territory? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see the next strange ecological battle on this planet, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch the next video right here.